Yes, Mr. Grant, on many occasions you've referred to Janet Reno and Hillary Clinton as lesbians. Would you inform the listeners of where you get your evidence and knowledge?
I didn't say that they were. I have no...
You called her. You called Janet Reno.
Janet... Wait a minute. I'll tell you what I said. I know better what I said than what you know. Janet Reno comes across to me like a super dyke. Okay?
What does it mean, though? What does it mean?
Means a lesbian. You never heard that term dyke before?
Should that influence her work in any way?
It could, but she's inept anyway. Whether she was...
she's inept. I agree, but the fact that she's a lesbian doesn't have a thing to do with it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Elizabeth, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello. I have admired Martin Luther King for a long time, and I've noticed that you seem to take the opposite attitude. You seem to disapprove of him, and I wondered why.
Well, first of all, you say you've admired him for a long time, to the extent of having a national holiday in his honor?
I don't know about that, but I wouldn't call him that putz. I'd call him a very great American.
Why? Why do you call him a great American? Tell me why you call him a great American.
Okay, I think he showed a lot of courage and leadership. I think that...
In what regard? I mean, what...
Okay.
In your behalf?
Yes, because I'm an American. If Americans...
Oh, please, you're nauseating. You're nauseating.
I'm sorry,
you're nauseating. He wasn't concerned with you if you weren't black. If you were black, yes, I can understand.
Well, he said he was concerned with everybody.
Oh, my foot, he was.
He's a lot different from the people today.
Listen, here we are. Oh, I don't like your voice. You just get an AT&T phone. Using a kazoo. Vincent from Corona. Hello.
How you doing, Bob?
Goodbye, Vincent. Let's try Ralph checking in. How you doing? I'm not taking social calls right now. Not personal calls. This is the program. Want to know how I'm doing? I'll give you my home phone number. We'll chat after the show. How you doing? How stupid? Kenny, what's on your mind this afternoon?
Hello, Bob.
Yes, Kenny.
You know, the big one has two meanings. The big earthquake in California mean like 15,000, 20,000 killed. St. Andre's Fort would come down. There's another meaning to the big one. The big one is the race war.
I
heard that 42 years ago in Bronzeville. They were talking about, the war. They didn't care about the European war. Now it started the Second World War. They talked about the war against the whites. They killed the whites. The big one is the race war. I was in Harlem. I was at both riots, 1935, 1943. My father opened the same place, 116th Street. He had his laundry business, Lenox Avenue. The officer Carraro was killed. His gun was taken from him, right?
That was 1972.
Yeah, but my father opened his business, his laundry business, 116th Street and Lenox Avenue.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, we had two riots over there. And the Jews, they smashed all the synagogues, all the stores, and Adam Powell came on the set. We drove the Jews off 125th Street. We drove them out of Harlem. They're exploiting us. They wouldn't give us a job. Marcus Garvey said the Jews are burying in money. They had it coming to them. Malcolm X, he said, we drove the Jews off 125th Street. We drove them out of Harlem. We took the sheets off them.
All right, Kenny, appreciate the call.
All right.
Thank you very much. It's Fred. Hello, Fred. What's on your mind?
Yes, hello, Mr. Grant. I was wondering what you had against Martin Luther King. You haven't really given an answer. I've been listening for a couple of weeks.
Look, year in and year out, we go through the same silly conversation. I just don't believe that anybody deserves a national holiday, especially Martin King. We're talking about a national holiday here. The only reason he's got a national holiday is because some jerk assassinated him. If not, would there be a national holiday? Of course not.
But what do you think of him as a man or as a leader?
I think he was a fake, a phony, and a fraud.
But why do you say that?
Because of his record. Let me ask you this, jerk. Why, if his record was so clean, has it been sealed by court order until the year 2027? What?
What do you think of his following the teachings of Jesus and guns?
Oh, cut it out, Jesus. He would, Jesus. Yeah, Jesus told him to shack up with every broad he could and cheat on his wife. That's right. How stupid. Jesus. It's blasphemy to mention Jesus in the same breath with King. Here's John. Hello, John.
Yes, hi, Bob. Bob, your opening remarks about the male white being demonized in this country couldn't have been more correct. To be a man in the politically correct 1990s today means to be belittled in commercials, to be made a fool of in these insipid sitcoms, and to be unrealistically beaten up by the new liberated women of the 1980s and 1990s in these stupid movies and TV shows produced by politically correct Hollywood types. And this is all an attempt, of course, to brainwash the American people into thinking that women are the same physically as men. And the liberal left, women's livers, are trying to convince us that the natural instincts of men are due to upbringing and environment instead of what it really is, nature. And some of these insipid, gullible parents today are falling for all of this, shoving dolls in front of their male children and refusing to let them do what comes natural and play with toy soldiers. And half of the men and women who are married today, Bob, met their spouses on the job. But thanks to the feminazis, these left-wingers, men are afraid to even approach a woman on the job for fear of being accused of sexual harassment. And we've stopped using correct English. Neutral terms like chairman, newsman, mankind are being replaced with terms like chairperson, news people, and people kind.
Well, chairperson isn't even chairperson anymore, just chair.
Chair, yeah. Right.
He's the chair.
Well,
the chair is the chair is the thing you sit on.
Right. The next thing you know, Bob, we'll be using the term woo person instead of women because the last three letters of women end in MEN. And as far as Martin Luther King goes, Bob, this holiday means nothing to me, and I have no guilt for saying that, because a lot of blacks during the 200th anniversary of the Statue of Liberty and the founding of our country didn't want to partake in that celebration because they said they were not part of that influx of those immigrants. And Martin Luther King, this bum, attended the Communist Highlander Folk School in Mount Eagle, Tennessee. There are pictures of Martin Luther King at that school with other communists, including Bayard Rustin, who was a convicted sexual pervert who ended up being Martin Luther King's personal secretary. And
yeah,
this guy...
by the way, in that famous photo that you speak of, and you're one of the few people aware of it anymore, people have forgotten, that was in Mount Eagle, Tennessee. There was a guy by the name of Abner Berry, a Communist Party official, sitting right next to him. And next to Abner Berry was a guy by the name of Aubrey Williams, also an officer in the Communist Party, USA, and another communist by the name of Miles Horton, who was the head of the school. Now, these three communists, by the way, they were all white. No, I take it back. I believe Abner Berry was black, but the other two guys, Williams and Horton, they were white. At any rate, they were communists, and there was King sitting with these three self-admitted known communists at this training school. For what? What was he training for? Democracy?
Yeah, and it's always white people, of course, communists, who align themselves with these other anarchists, Bob. And, also during the Vietnam War, Martin King urged people to be draft dodgers. He said that the United States was the biggest purveyor of violence in the world and compared us to Nazi Germany. And everywhere he went, he spoke of nonviolence, but everywhere he went, there was violence. You're not allowed to criticize Martin Luther King. As you know, Ralph Abernathy, who was Martin Luther King's best friend, was vilified and outcast by his fellow blacks.
Well, Ralph Abernathy, I loaned out the book that Ralph Abernathy wrote when the walls came tumbling down. It is a damning indictment of Martin King. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
That's John of Staten Island.
I was wondering, do you think it's possible to perhaps have a day where we discuss solutions as opposed to problems?
Anybody's welcome to. I don't say we'll hear only problems, do I? Do I say at the beginning?
No.
Do I say at the beginning of the program we'll hear only problems?
No, it just seems to be negative.
Well, the people are negative. You want to say something positive? Go ahead.
Was there any way of trying to
You have a solution? Go ahead. Speak for yourself. Well, or are you just sitting back and want somebody else to do that? You want somebody else to do your heavy lifting? Go ahead.
No, I guess I'd chime in if I had some idea.
Yeah, in other words, you don't have any solution, do you?
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Okay.
Here's a guy who wants to hear solutions. I say, well, okay, what solutions do you have? Do you have any? No, I don't, he says. Kay Picard. She was a very nice woman. Kay Picard. Remember her?
I just wanted to say that I hope all New Yorkers could see that Al Sharpton protested today with 100 protesters. Now, if there was some real force, and if a lot of New Yorkers were behind him in his cause, there would have been thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands out there with him. And he lost his key to City Hall, and he's upset now, and he wants to upset all New Yorkers, not just blacks or whites. He wants to upset all New Yorkers, and he's shown today that he's not a leader in New York.
He's a bum, a fat bum, who has cornered the market on hair straightener. Thank you.
Yeah, Bob Grant. Yeah, anybody with any common sense could figure out that if Dr. Martin Luther King were pictured with these communists you stated earlier, it was because communism offered what America didn't, namely equality. But racist pigs like you and that skunk from Staten Island refuse to see it any other way.
Who's that other guy you're talking about?
That skunk from Staten Island, John or whatever his name is.
Oh, John of Staten Island, yes. Yes, you don't like John of Staten Island either.
No, I don't like him or I don't like you, you pig.
I'm a pig. Oh, dear, this bum probably is going back to licking food stamps now that he's gotten off the air, off the phone. Sue from...
Listen, I have to say that I've listened to you with a great deal of agreements in many instances, but I believe your comments on the late Dr. Martin Luther King...
Oh, cut it out. Stop being so pretentious, so pedantic,
I beg your pardon.
so pompous.
You are a reprehensible man.
And so are you. On WABC, what a fake, phony fraud trying to impress me. I think your remarks on Dr. King. Doctor of what? Doctor of schmutz. Or shoot him in the foot.
Just a show of force, not...
Yeah, right. I know that isn't why you called, Joe.
Okay, well, I just want to mention, and since we're talking about the earthquake today, I wonder if anybody, any women, any lesbians, any feminazis are going to say something in praise of men. I wonder what would happen to the Los Angeles area if it were left up to women to rebuild it, to protect it, to rescue people. I wonder if any women are going to say, gee, it's a male-dominated patriarchy. I wonder if they're going to complain about that in the time that it takes to rebuild Los Angeles. You think you'll hear any of those Los Angeles feminists speaking out and complaining about men? I don't think so.
I don't think you ought to hold your breath. Thank you, Joe.
Religion, right? Now, where was he, if he's so into the Islam, where was he with the Gulf War? Another thing, I have a lot of black friends, and they all agree with me with this.
You have a lot of what?
I have a lot of black friends, and they all agree they hate Al Sharpton, okay? Now,
why do they hate him?
Because of what he's doing.
What is he doing from their perspective?
Let me give you my next point, what I'm saying.
I don't believe you. First of all, I do not believe you.
Bob,
I do not believe you,
He's
Tom.
saying he's from the Nation of Islam, right?
I mean, here's the guy, Joe. I have a lot of black friends.
No.
I have a lot of black friends that they hate Al Sharpton. I don't believe
saying he's from the Nation of Islam. He's a nation.
Gavones.
Now, he's declaring war against the United States.
Gavones.
All right? Now, that's grounds for legal arrest. Now, if Mario Cuomo don't come in and do something and arrest this guy now,
Mario
it's going to
Cuomo,
be too late.
What is he, a sheriff?
I hate him.
He's going to arrest the guy?
But what are you going to do? He's trying to start a damn civil war. Now, he's saying he's from the Nation of Islam. All of a sudden, he's with the Nation of Islam.
Yeah, you've said that 7 times.
Yeah, so...
I'll try for 8?
All right, but if the feds don't come in and arrest Al Sharpton now, he's going to try to... What he's trying to do is start a civil war.
On WABC, we're forging ahead here. This is the one and only Bob Grant program. And I take great pride, well, not really pride, but I do acknowledge that This is the radio program more gavones call than all other radio programs on all other radio stations in every single market in the country combined. And only Bob Grant can make that statement. If you don't believe me, just listen to this program a couple of times.
We commend you on your patience and your resilience.
Patience?
Yeah, with all the gavones you get calling.
Oh.
So you're very restrained towards them.
Well, I try to remember that if it weren't for the gavones, I would have had to go out and work for a living instead of doing this.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grant. I want to talk about Al Sharpton, but first I want to say I was flipping the station around late last night, and I saw Cuomo. My God, he looks like an old fish. Anyway, he was criticizing WABC for all the negative talk. He didn't mention you by name, but it was obvious that you was the main one he was talking about. He said from Koch all the way up, very negative, and he wants point and counterpoint. In other words, he says the station is too radical conservatives. Anyway...
did he use those words?
He says, he has a contempt. I don't know if he said contempt. He talked against radical conservatives. I noted it down. I'm sorry I didn't take adequate notes.
Did he allow that maybe there were some conservatives who weren't radical? Or does
he mentioned Jack Kemp as a conservative who's not radical.
I see. That's because Jack Kemp kisses Cuomo's tush.
Oh, that could be it.
That's why.
I never thought that.
As long as you... But somebody who tells it like it is, like myself, of course he doesn't like. Hey, Spatchim! Okay. What else do you want to say, Jimmy?
In today's Daily News, page 37, an article by Jim Sleeper concerning Al Sharpton's march across the bridge. Jim Sleeper identifies the white marchers as being from the Socialist Workers' Party.
Of course.
And other whites from the National Lawyers Guild, which had been identified previously as a Communist Party front.
Of course.
Now, these are the same people that I called your show a couple of years ago when they beat up some of my Cuban-American human rights workers at the New School for asking a question that wasn't favorable to Castro, whose agent was there speaking, Dr. Tablada from Cuba. So you see, there's a network here of left-wing, whether they call themselves liberals, progressives, socialists, or whatever. There's a unity of the left that I don't think we've seen before, and that gives them a lot more power than they've had in the past. And, of course, in the past, even the KGB admitted that they had some connection to Sonny Carson and Al Sharpton. So,
what do you do for a living, Jimmy?
I do renovation work, but you can see what my main interest is.
I would say it's your total interest.
It's a very big interest.
I have never known of a caller who has more single-mindedness than you do. There are some who have just as much in different areas.
Right.
But you are totally preoccupied with this communist menace.
Well, I see that a lot of the problems we have, that some people focus on one another issue, all problems we have, but I see that behind it there's a unified force creating it. So it's like we could stamp out...
How do you suppose you came to this posture?
Well, when I was about 12 or 13 years old, I had my first face-to-face contact with communists during the Vietnam War. And I heard some of the things they said. They said that we're going to be in your churches, your schools, and your government. And years later, I see that's true. Plus, I had friends who were immigrants and refugees from various communist countries. So I learned pretty young from people who are eyewitness to some of the tragedies. And maybe in a way, I'm sort of a coward. I'm afraid of war. So I figure if we could win politically and win the propaganda information war, we may not have to resort to armed war.
By asking these questions, I'm not being critical. I hope you understand that.
I thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Pandering. In Patterson, New Jersey, Mayor William J. Pasrell, Jr., and his municipal council, Ernest Hutchinson, Martin G. Barnes, Yolanda Luna, Donald Hayden, Sonia Rosado, Vera Ames, Maria Magda, Thomas C. Rooney, Jr. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. And don't forget Jose Joey Torres, Council at Large, Council President. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. They're a disgrace to America. You know why? They put out the 1994 recycling schedule for Patterson, New Jersey, in 3 languages. It says Patterson recycle, 1994 recycling schedule. Then Patterson reprocesa la basura, horario para reprocesar la basura, 1994. And then guess what? In Arabic, Bafangul. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Bad enough we've sunk so low that now we do it in Spanish as well as English. Now even in Arabic. Can you believe that? I'm as lonesome as an American in Patterson. La da 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 da. Hey, Pasrell, you sycophant. Can you believe it's sickening, absolutely sickening. You want to live in America? You want to become an American and learn English? You schmucks. But why should they when they've got guys like Pasrell out there kissing their collective ass? Sick of it. Robert from Manhattan, hello.
Yeah, I tell you something, the Super Bowl business has become too commercialized. And let me tell you something else. Rabin is a traitor and should be shot.
John, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob. Another
good way to get rid of the phlegm. If you have phlegm in your throat, just say kahana-chai, like these jerks who've decided to come out of the woodwork every now and then. Yeah, Shanker has made some very salient points. However, no matter how many salient points he makes, nothing good happens. So don't say you're encouraged. There's nothing to be encouraged about. There really is nothing to be encouraged about. Albert Shanker, Bob Grant, a few of us, all we're doing is describing the burial of what was once the greatest country in the history of the world. It's over, pal. It's over.
I'll keep the faith, though.
Keep the faith? How are you going to keep the faith when day in and day out all we hear is that things that make absolute sense are being discarded because a bunch of black militants have said, hey, we'll call you racist if you don't straighten up. Come on.
I think the only thing you can do is get the politicians who are up for office. How they stand on this. They don't.
Get real. How naive the politicians. Politicians are not part of the solution. They're part of the problem.
You said it. I said it then, and it's coming home and it's hitting them. Now Albert Shanker can stand on his high horse and say this is terrible, but he took the money. And this is going...
Wait. You're distorting the whole thing.
Why am I distorting?
First of all, he didn't take any money personally.
No, personally. No,
you're talking about a raise that the teachers got. Yeah. So don't make it sound like that. Don't say no when you've already made a stupid statement.
It isn't a stupid statement.
Yeah, it's a stupid statement.
Hey, he took it for the union, right? He took it for the teachers.
You imply that he was bought off.
No. That wasn't bought off?
No, he wasn't bought off.
No, the union wasn't bought off.
Well, I've no use for the union, but all I can tell you is that for 20 years, Albert Shanker has been echoing what I've been saying. I can't...
But he was one of the guys...
Okay, all right. What a gavone. I can't stand gavone. Do you notice all gavones sound like they're wearing tight jock straps? Just like somebody's squeezing them in a certain area. Hey, guess what, Biff? I don't feel like talking to you. How does that grab you?
I can understand why.
Tell me his speech, for example, August 28th, 1963. Tell me where he quoted the Bible or...
Well, you mean like... I don't know the dates, but I do know that he would use the words of Moses, which we shall overcome. He used that in a religious...
Oh, really? My foot he used in a religious sense. Come on, Florence. You're just trying to... Well, you know what you're doing? You're trying to have people say, well, I thought she was a racist at first, but she's not because she said those nice things about that fake, phony, womanizing, commie fraud Martin King.
Yeah, well, to me, if I heard one true Christian sermon from any of them, or any true Christian thought, I might,
Ask them their favorite quote in the Bible. I think they'd be pretty hard put.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
How are you? Hello?
Yes, Nancy, what's on your mind?
Yes. Hi, baby. I haven't seen you in a long time. I used to love working on the air with you and Ed Asner and Walter Cronkite. I miss you so much. They don't realize what beautiful people you are. I'll remember that all the days of my life.
What are you talking about?
Early radio. I knew you in early radio. It was wonderful.
Hey, listen, I hope you get well, baby. The cold air has frozen your brain.
No, it hasn't frozen it. The memories are very, very good.
What memories?
I have an issue that I think you should discuss out loud. I really do. You're discussing the schools?
I didn't know Ed Asner was on radio. Yeah, what?
Yes, he was. He was also out in the Midwest on radio. He got up very early, like 4:30 in the morning. He was a cousin of mine, distantly.
Distantly? Yeah. Real distant?
Well, he's Tannenbaum, you know.
The what?
He was related to the Tannenbaums, and I was related to the Tannenbaums.
Oh, Tannenbaum, Tannenbaum. Yeah.
I have a very deep issue that I would like
a deep issue. I like deep issues, yes.
Yes. I'm a mother, okay, and
you certainly are, yeah.
Yes, I have a son who is in foster care, and I consider the issue to be not a foster care situation, but an agency-assisted abduction. And motherhood is becoming a dirty word. They can say anything they want, they can do anything they want, and there doesn't seem to be a proper way to redress them. It's like the schools, the kids, we don't have a proper way to help with the education. They don't communicate with the parents, and everything is going the wrong way. I would like to hear from other callers, and I'd like to hear from you as to what to do, other than I have a lawyer, and I intend to really take the business back in their face. I don't think it's fair to parents. If parents have a legitimate reason for having their son or daughter in care, I had an in-office accident, which I couldn't help. He had a situation.
What do you mean in-office accident? What happened? Somebody go on the floor?
He was bad in school, and I couldn't leave my job in Queens to go to school, and I was grabbed at work by mice, and I fell into things to avoid them and slipped under my shoes for real. And I had to have foot surgery. I just had another one. But I want to know why the agencies can take your children and you have no regrets. They can say anything they want to your face, do anything they want with your children. I have media pictures that my son is in drag. I have media pictures that my son is being in usage, and I've not signed a thing. I asked for him to be...
This is a real va-va-voom call.
Yeah.
You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
Real va-va-voom.
Why can they go against the temporary
court order? Ladies and gentlemen, they're letting them out in droves from Pilgrim State, from Creedmoor. Here's graphic proof, tragic graphic proof of that. Yes?
Yeah. Why can they go against the temporary court order and say those kind of things and do those kind of things and act like they have free hits in my face? Any other parents have this experience? Or is it just my experience?
Only the Tannenbaums. Only the Tannenbaums.
Just the Tannenbaums.
I hope you get well, dear. As a matter of fact, Jack Nicholson is outside waiting for you with Nurse Fletcher right now.
Well, hi.
So you have how many black people do you know?
I know plenty. How many would I?
No. How many black people do you know who said, I don't agree with Sharpton and Jesse Jackson? I don't agree with these. How many told you that?
I can think of two off the top of my head.
Okay, two told you. I believe that two told you that.
Okay, well, maybe.
So you're going to translate that to the statement that most blacks don't agree with these guys. If most blacks didn't agree with these guys would have no forum. These guys would be meaningless. They would have no platform.
Well, actually, did you ever see there was a real good special on Channel 13 where they had Al Sharpton on, and he was saying that when the Yusuf Hawkins.
It's very simple. Hawkins, pal, Hawkins.
All right, well, when that incident happened, he talked to his father and said, are you sure you want me to have a march or anything? The father said yes, because he said, tomorrow I can have 500 people there. And he was able to bring it. But I think it's, from what you've mentioned before, it's a core group of people.
Why are we having this discussion?
Well, basically, because I don't think...
I mean, if you were a black guy, I could understand maybe some emotional drive that would lead you to make this call.
Oh,
but you're a white guy, and I don't understand why you're presuming to speak for the black silent majority.
I have a great answer for you, and it's the truth. The reason is, I don't think most people think along the lines of race. I don't think most people...
Well, then you're as dumb as you sound. If you don't believe that, if you believe what you just said, you're as dumb as you sound. Unfortunately, they do think along the lines of race.
See, there's where I guess we disagree. Maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe because
you know what it is. You know what it is.
Yeah.
You've been brainwashed, and you're probably. Tell me what you look like. Are you real overweight?
No, I'm not real.
You're not real overweight, but
No.
you're quite overweight, right?
Not quite. A little bit overweight.
A little bit overweight. Yeah, they all say a little bit overweight.
Yeah.
Do you feel somewhat, shall we say, are you not the most socially self-assured person?
No, actually, I've been told that I seem very self-assured. In fact, and I'm
really? You seem self-assured.
Yeah. And
what do you do for a living, George?
I'm an attorney, actually.
You are an attorney, actually. Why do you say actually?
Actually, because I thought you were going to try to pigeonhole me into some kind of career that you're.
What is your specialty, George?
I'm a public defender.
Okay, now we understand. That did it. Now we understand. Thank you, George.
So.
Now we understand. He's a public defender. You know who they wind up defending all the time, don't you? Hey, I'm glad I persisted in asking these questions. Now I can understand why this white guy would be calling, presupposing that he could speak for all these silent majority, all the black silent majority. And if I were a black, I'd say, who the heck is he to talk for me? But then again, who am I to talk for anybody? Here's Tony checking in. Hello, Tony.
Hello, Bob. Outrageous verdict. You know, Bob, although Mr. Bobbitt was a pig, this verdict was completely wrong. She had options and could have left this pig. And there are other factors. Consider these three. Number one, she stole over $7,000 from her employer, another woman. Yet this woman, her employer, supported her throughout the trial. She was there every day and completely disregarded the $7,000 stolen by this sultry-eyed bitch who fooled everyone at the trial. Now, could these two women be bisexual? Could they be lovers? Could this have affected his behavior in the marriage? Now, I think it's worth looking into. Now, point two. This woman, Bobbitt, had a low mentality. I would like to see a quiet, low-profile investigation to see if she was connected to any women's group, most of which are lesbian man-haters. And point three, the sick, perverted media is trying to start something here which is going to backfire on innocent women. They should remember that during World War II, the Germans did not use poison gas because we also had it. In other words, what could happen to the goose can also happen to the gander. Now, Bob, this is another Bolshevik push to bring this country down. And I say, starting now, let's start kicking these feminist dogs in the ass and kick them hard. And it's time to get out the baseball bats against these bastards because they deserve beatings. Every goddamn one of them have to be beaten to a pulp.
Wow.
And that's what we should do today, tonight, now. Let's get after these dogs and break their ass for them.
Well, I'm not going around doing that, but I
know you can't talk about it.
No, I don't. I just don't think in those terms, but thank you, Tom.
Well, you have to. You have to.
On WABC, that's the intellectual approach is taken by Tony from Brooklyn.
Right. Intending to remark on some of Rabbi Hecht's comments, but after your last comments before the break, I feel compelled as a Jew to observe that your comments regarding the way in which we as gay people are so affluent and influential and powerful, and the way that we've infiltrated the media and the entertainment industry and the fashion industry is very familiar and redolent of other comments in different contexts.
Cut it out.
I was wondering if it's the same
Cut
thing
out the fake, phony verbiage. You know what I'm saying is absolutely true, so cut it out.
Why, if we're so obsessed with sex, are we able to be such high achievers and to gain all of this prominence and affluence with all of this talent that we have, the way that you described it earlier?
Because you have a network. You have a network which helps you, and I'll be the first to tell you that many of you, not you as a person, because you obviously are a loser,
obviously,
but many people who have the double-gaited features that you have are very talented people. Make no mistake about it.
Well, Rabbi Hecht had earlier said that we in the religious community don't have this problem, and I was wondering how he reconciled that comment with the fact that there are so many Roman Catholic priests, for example, that are both actively gay and HIV positive, that's one of the most desperately guarded secrets of the Catholic Church, and the same is true for many in the religious Jewish community whom I've met who are both actively gay and HIV positive. And
well, that's because they were double-gaited freaks to begin with.
And because the environment created by people like Rabbi Hecht, where they put their head in the sand and say, this issue does not exist in our community, as though they're purified and elevated.
Hey, look, you want to argue with
causes people to engage in that kind of behavior.
You want to argue with Rabbi Hecht? Argue with Rabbi Hecht. I mean, you're arguing with him. You're not arguing with me.
Well, because you are an ideological cousin of his, and it was your comments earlier that had an extreme familiarity to Joseph Goebbels.
I knew.
The banks and infiltrating.
Get off your knees, by the way, pal. Get off your knees, for heaven's sake. All right, who do we have here?
Bob, I had to laugh while I'm waiting. That guy with Inman, if Inman was confirmed, could you imagine he'd say, well, the North Koreans and the Russians are plotting against me. I quit.
Well, the joke is on Biff because there are people like myself who despise Slick Willie, who feel that his election was an abomination, was an aberration, who secretly wanted Inman to go in as Secretary of Defense because he would have created so many problems for Slick Willie. He just might have been the difference between Slick Willie being a one-termer and a two-termer. Mike?
Yeah, hello.
Hello, Mike.
Yeah, I'm calling from New Jersey, and I'm calling in reference to the Supreme Court decision today.
Yes. How do you get the name Mike?
Mike? Well, my name's Michael, and most people call me Mike.
Is this a female?
No, it's just, I'm 13.
Oh, okay. All right, Mike.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm 13.
I heard you.
I was calling, and I wanted to know, why do you think Clarence Thomas and Scalia voted to expand RICO to...
Did your mother or your father tell you to make this call?
No, I'm calling on my own.
I don't believe you.
I'm calling on my own.
No 13-year-old is aware of the RICO law. No 13-year-old is aware of the proclivities of Antonin Scalia or Clarence Thomas. One of the adults in the household put you up to this call.
Actually, I've got a friend who's extremely conservative. His name is Matt Hayes, and he's the one who encouraged me to make this call.
Okay, I knew somebody else did. Give him my regards. Thank you. I don't waste my time with this kid explaining why Scalia or Thomas voted the way they did. I don't like being made a stooge.
Now, I picked up the New York Post about a half hour ago, and I was reading Jack Newfield's column.
What a jerk. What a jerk. Here's a guy
Worse than a jerk.
Here's a guy who's been on my show, who's complimented me. He's acted like he was, not a friend, but acted friendly. And then he puts me in that column like that.
I just cannot believe it, lumping you and calling you a bigot and putting you in the same...
He called me a racist along with Louis Farrakhan and David Duke, yeah.
Yeah. And I was just wondering, and I know that you would know his background. What is he? Is he an old-time commie? What is he?
Well, he has stated in the past that he was a socialist or that he was a social democrat. I don't believe he's ever come out and said he was a communist, although many of his views were in sympathy with what the communists were preaching. But whether you want to call him a communist, a socialist, it doesn't make any difference what you call him. The fact of the matter is, it's the Newfields of this town that have really created much of the problems that we have by virtue of the type of rhetoric that they've engaged in, which is played into the hands of the very people that he is condemning.
Well, I just couldn't believe it, and I just had to call because I didn't hear anybody mention it. I was completely appalled that now the next time I read him, I'll have a different feeling about any article that he writes.
Well, you won't hear him on this radio station, I guarantee you. That's it. I mean, I've had him on, and
he's really not important, but it is a learning experience that a worm like this comes out and says what he says.
Boy, how awful it must be, and how disappointing it must be to you. And I think you're absolutely great. And on that note, I'm going to hang up. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
But the bottom line is, I'm a black woman, and if I tell them that...
Why do you call yourself a black woman if you're white?
Because, Bob, genetically, I'm as black as the ace of spades.
Oh, you mean both your parents are very dark?
Right, but I don't want to call myself I don't want to refer to myself as a mix-up, but quite frankly, that's what I am genetically, Bob. And
well, I think I don't know what you say. They discriminate against you.
Right.
Well, how do they even know that you are genetically?
Very good question, Mr. Grant. You're asking all the right questions because I want to get this word out there. I will, with people that I know, when I fill out applications, I put that I'm a black woman because I am. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am black, but I don't look black, Bob. If I walked in that studio of yours right now, you'd think I was a white woman.
Well, so what is the point here?
The point, Bob, is that we talk about Louis Farrakhan and we talk about all these others, but someone needs to address the racism within the race. You understand, between the darker and the lighter-skinned black.
All right, appreciate the call.
Well, one more thing that is imperative here.
Yeah.
You turned me on.
I knew it. I knew it. It's that same. It's Myron. Myron back again. Myron has really got a problem, a real serious problem. Hey, right now let's swing. But there's Slick. Hey, look, he didn't get that nickname Slick Willie for nothing. And some people think I gave him that name. No, he had that nickname long before he ran for the presidency of the United States. People in Arkansas knew that he was slick, and some admired his slickness, some detested his slickness, but everybody agrees he's a slippery, slick eel. I'm not critical of Slick Willie for having done that. I am critical, however, of Bob Kerrey for being a two-faced, fake, phony fraud in saying that he didn't like the tax bill he voted for, but he voted for it so that he would not be guilty of bringing down a president. I still can't get over that. I guess I'm the only guy in the country that even remembers that. The jerks in Nebraska. I'm sorry, Cornhuskers, but I got to call you that because I suspect you will reelect this slime ball. And even though he lost a foot for stepping on a landmine in Vietnam,
there's no reason to give him a pass. But people are strange that way. You know what's worse, death or moving? No, really, moving is torture. I've had more. I finally moved after 10 years, and it has just been one nightmare after another. One nightmare after another. I understand that guys brought in carpeting today. I had some new furniture delivered yesterday, and because they wanted to get the carpeting down, they put the furniture out on a porch, and I understand the couch got wet. The brand new couch. Thanks, guys. Thanks. I'll find out who put that car. I'll find out who that crew was. They'll be sorry they did that to me. I'll tell you that.
Well, I know what you mean because I've moved into a 2 or 3 homes already. But I'm in a position now where, because my family is growing, I need to plan something a little bit bigger. And
your family's growing? I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, you know, life is tough enough. Why do we take the burdens of having to raise children? Why?
Well, they've all
I did it, and it must have been insanity that made me do it. What's everybody else's excuse?
They can be problems, but most of the time they give a great deal of joy. I think you'd agree with that also.
What's on your mind?
Oh, Mr. Grant, it's a pleasure to speak to you. I'm calling from Ottawa, Canada, the nation's capital north of the border. I listened with great interest to an earlier call dealing with the subject of Israel and Israeli influence within American society. And there's one thing I find very interesting about the whole Israeli-Jewish type question, and it's the same thing here in Canada. You can have very clear-minded people such as yourself criticizing black nationalism and minority racism and gay rights and so forth, but whenever the conversation turns to Israel or something sensitive to the Jewish community, people become, even yourself with this call, very irrational. You shout, you hang up, and so forth.
You spent all the money to call from Ottawa to tell us that anti-Semites are north of the border as well as south of the border.
Well, no. What I'm trying to say, Mr. Grant, is that people like yourself who are very gutsy and very enlightened will frequently comment on things that are politically incorrect.
Hey, look, let me save you a lot of time, Steve. When I give an opinion, it's my opinion. It's not anybody else's opinion, and that's the way I feel about this issue. So don't try to twist it into thinking that it's not really my opinion, but I'm only saying it because I'm forced to. You understand?
Mr. Grant, I'm not suggesting it's not your opinion, and I respect most of your opinions on most other issues, and the fact that you have a lot of guts. And we just basically don't have a Bob Grant in Canada.
And you never will. You never will. Canada couldn't handle me.
Well, I mean, we have hate laws in this country, and I'm going to say something very politically incorrect. We have Section 319.2 of our criminal code, which is the hate law, which is enforced with much more liberty here than you have in the United States. We have Section 2B of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is supposed to be similar to the First Amendment in your Constitution, which, I mean, is a mockery. And most of the time when people are pursued in the form of witch hunts and they have thought crimes trials and are tossed in jail for thought crimes, it's the result of pressure from the Canadian Jewish Congress and the B'nai B'rith. And anytime someone like myself or anyone else says, hey, wait a minute, Jewish sensitivity is circumventing free speech, people get irrational, call us names, and hang up and shout at us.
I wonder why. Listen, give my regards to your wife, Bruce. Thank you. On WABC, let's check in with Joe Nolan.
Oh, my. Mr. Double-gaited brown curling from Ottawa, Canada?
Man, that's an expensive phone call.
Yeah. What a schmuck. What is that? You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. It's the owners and the players just making more and more money off of the poor schnooks whose lives are so empty that they have to find some release in watching a game. $50 million? I'll tell you, I don't pick anybody, but Paul Needle-Nose Minaj says it'll be Dallas. No matter what. No matter what the points Dallas will cover, that they will, as a matter of fact, here's a note from Paul Needle-Nose Minaj. Dear Bob, just want you to know that the Cowboys are going to run the Bills right out of the dome. Thanks. That's what he says, Mike.
Okay.
All right?
Thanks a lot.
So listen, you call, call Nick the Book, Louis the Book, whoever it is you do business with.
Okay.
You won't have to pay the VIG because you'll win big.
All right.
Take Dallas no matter what.
All right.
Hello, Richard from Bayside. What's on your mind?
Hi, good afternoon, Bob. Good to talk to you. Listen, I agree with what you're saying a lot of the times. This country's getting worse and worse. For example, they're bringing over the Russian Jews over here now, right? And they're getting welfare.
WABC, let's say hello to Joan. I can't stand the way guys like him talk. Why do they talk that way? I don't understand. I don't mean what he's saying. I mean the way he says. I can't stand that, what do you call it, dialect, method of... I don't understand. And why do guys like him always sound like they have a cold? Hey, let's get a physiognomy expert here. Maybe an orthopedic man to study bone structure. Maybe that's what it... Joan, what's on your mind?
Man, I would like just to say this right quick. Any woman who pins themselves up in a magazine needs to be shunned from the rest of society.
Oh, cut it out. You don't believe that? Cut it out.
Well, Mr. Grant.
What a sanctimonious phony you are, shunned by the rest of society. That's why everybody rushes out to buy the magazine, buy the video. That's why it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, huh? Because they're shunned. Cut it out. Cut it out.
You're right, as far as that's concerned. About Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Minister Louis Farrakhan?
Yes, sir.
Are you a black Muslim?
No, sir.
Huh?
No, sir.
Well, why do you sound like it then with the Minister Louis Farrakhan and all that?
Well, that's his name, Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Well, yeah, but you call him Minister Louis Farrakhan.
No, can I just say this? I don't subscribe.
By the way, where'd you get the name Life?
Okay, you asked me that before.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you it again.
Excuse me. I'm a product of an interracial marriage couple. My father happened to be a Native American, and
you mean an American Indian?
American Indian.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people claim. You know, a lot of people.
My real name. Let me just tell you my real name. My first name is Charles, and my last name is Lightfoot. But to get through America, everybody ask me, "Oh, you're a Native American?" I just use light, and you don't.
They don't ask you if you're a Native American. They don't say that. People don't use that phony language.
Okay.
The guy might say, "Are you an American? Are you an Indian?"
Are you an Indian? Surely. You're right. Okay, you're right. You're right. Can I just speak about Minister Lewis?
But if you were a real Indian, you'd be operating a motel or a gas station. Hey, you know, who passed the law that says that only people from Pakistan and India can operate gasoline stations anymore?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. But can I speak about Minister Farrakhan?
You can speak about Louis Farrakhan anytime you want.
Okay, Mr. Grant, I don't subscribe to being a conservative or a liberal or a Democrat or a Republican, but the social and the economic system of America has failed black people and has failed black youth. But Minister Farrakhan has a track record of solving the problem of young black men, and I think he should be given a chance. I would like you to answer me a question.
What do you mean he has a track record of helping young black men?
Right.
To do what? To learn how to shoot straighter, throw a knife straighter, what? Help them do what?
To help them be productive citizens of America.
He's not interested in America.
Productive citizens in this society. I agree with you about that. He has his own nation, and he wants to be separated from America. But I would like you to answer me a question. What is the fear of Minister Farrakhan speaking to an all-men audience? Don't you think...
Well, okay, I have no problem with that. However,
thank you.
However, he was using a public facility, a state-supported facility.
I agree.
And the state of New York has a law against that. So he was in violation of the law. If he had his own hall, his own place, and he wanted to do that, I'd say more power to him.
I agree with that, Mr. Grant.
But you know what? I'm going to have 10,000 white guys at the Armory, and I'm going to say only 10,000 white guys can be there. You watch how long that would last. They'd wreck the joint. They'd kill all of us.
So, Mr. Grant,
there's a double standard in this country.
It definitely is, Mr. Grant.
I'm very tired of hearing you. Get off my phone. Mr. Grant. Mr. Louis Farrakhan. I'm not a follower of his, but, boy, I'm on my knees every time I say his dumb name. You've got to realize that, for some reason, the powers that be, people behind the scenes, feel that they can't have the national anthem sung by a white American anymore. It's got to be a black, for whatever reason I don't understand. And outside of somebody like Marian Anderson, who's now dead, outside of people like that, they didn't want to sing the national anthem as it was written. They want to bastardize it. They want to destroy it. You see, I don't think a national anthem has any place at the beginning of an athletic event anyway. I don't know what the heck a national anthem has to do with a football game. Do you? I mean, seriously, do you?
In an indirect way.
What do you mean by that?
Well, these players are representing our country as well as themselves.
They're not representing our country. They're not in the Olympics. They're playing... Buffalo's part of the USA.
True.
Dallas is part of the USA. They're playing each other. So what do you mean they're representing our country? It's not an international Olympic.
No, you're right.
Okay. And you see, I would rather not have the national anthem at all than see it bastardized by these people who really would rather be singing what they call the Negro national anthem. You say to Natalie Cole or any one of those groups, you say to them, how about doing the Negro national anthem? And boy, they'd belt that out without bastardizing it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
So Paul Tagliabue, that big schmuck, and the rest of the NFL and all the other people who are involved in sporting events should stop doing the national anthem entirely. I'd rather have it not done than desecrated.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Waiting.
Yeah, this is probably the first time that I've ever heard Louis Farrakhan speak in any great length. And I can't really say that I can disagree with anything that he has said. And I don't find him to be anti-white, and I don't find him to be anti-Semitic. And I am a white. I'm not Jewish. I have nothing against Jewish people. But if you read the New York Times and Daily News in New York, you would be led to believe that Mr. Farrakhan wants to do away with Jewish people as they're known today. And I can't see that. Not from the speech that he made today. And in particular, one of the things that he brought up in his speech referred to
the slave trade and how Jewish people controlled 75% of the slave trade, and that was based on a book written by Jewish scholars. Yet none of that was ever covered in the New York Times. And none of that, I don't think, was ever covered on Nightline with Ted Koppel in any interviews that he has given with Mr.
You know, you're incredible, John. You really are. You really are. You're incredibly stupid. Either you're devious or you're stupid, one or the other.
Oh, I don't think I'm stupid or devious. I'm just making an observation.
You're not just making an observation because you profess ignorance, and yet as you speak, you seem to be pretty well versed in your version of this subject.
Well,
suddenly you're an authority on Farrakhan. You say you've never heard him speak until today, at least not at length, and yet now you're recounting statements he's made, and you're trying to do it in depth. You know what, John? You're a fake, phony, fraud, two-bit, anti-Semitic rat fink.
I disagree with you, Mr.
Get off my phone, you slime ball. I disagree with you, Mr. Grant. Doesn't even have the guts to say, yeah, you're right, I am, so what? This is the type of individual that you can have absolutely no respect for. None.
I think he died after about 8 months ago. I mean, how do you come off telling people that Farrakhan is this, that, and the other? Why don't you come to one of the meetings? Why don't you come to the ghetto? I would like to see you in the ghetto one day. Yes, you in the ghetto. You in the ghetto with all your followers one day. Thank you.
You know, I think at the beginning of this program, they announced that auditions are being held. People are auditioning all the time. Here's Michael checking in. Hello, Michael.
People will get people to think about those things rather than thinking what's going on in the world. What do they call them? Draft dodgers. Muhammad Ali, remember that guy?
Yes, I remember Muhammad Ali.
Who was his mentor? I forgot that guy's name, Muhammad.
Well, his mentor was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, the man.
Who died in 1975, I believe, yeah.
Had my office in Harlem since 1920. I knew him very well, Muhammad Ali. But let me ask you, why ain't
I'll tell you this about Muhammad.
Refuting what Farrakhan's saying? Where is his son?
Well, why should he? I mean, why should...
well, I don't know why he should.
I mean, why bother him?
It's the same as the other son of a bitch that Clinton...
Watch your language, will you, pal?
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, you're sorry.
That draft dodger. Remember that guy? He's raping the goddamn banking system today.
Thank you. I can't... I mean, who does the guy think he's in a saloon? He probably does. Probably thinks he's in his favorite saloon, sitting on his favorite bar stool about to fall off, and I hope he does.
Oh, I listen to you all the time, but I was in the car, and I heard you saying, well, I have an hour and 47 minutes, and you sounded so down. And I just wanted to say, you know, Bob, myself and a lot of my friends listen to you every day. We look forward to hearing from you. We feel you're intelligent, you're educated, you're well-read. You remind me of my own father.
I knew you were going to say that. I guess you all had very intelligent but very quick-tempered fathers. I mean, you know, if I hear that another time, I think I'll go out and shoot myself.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say that it's a learning experience listening to you, and we look forward to listening to you. I don't know why you feel so many times you say, I have an hour left over, I have an hour, 2 hours left over. Why are you so angry?
Because I'm sick and tired of doing this, that's why.
But Bob, you're helping so many people.
Yeah, I know, I'm helping so many people. I'm Clara Barton. I'm Florence Nightingale. I'm Louis Pasteur. I'm helping so many people. When I wake up each day, I say, thank you, Lord, for giving me another day where I can help all the multitudes. Help people. Listen, let me tell you something, Mary. You sound sincere. I'm sure you're a sincere person. But if I were to disappear tomorrow, your life would go on. Nobody would even notice it. Come on, cut it out.
Yes, Bob, life would go on. And just like life went on when my parents died, and life went on when their parents died.
Okay.
We're working people. We're trying to raise our kids. And we look forward listening to you. We're trying to educate our children. We want to teach them the right from wrong. And we have a lot of obstacles in front of us. We have drugs in the school. We have Louis Farrakhan. We have racial problems. And we look forward to you.
Well, don't worry. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm a masochist. I'm going to continue doing this. I enjoy suffering.
Okay, Bob. Well, listen, you have a good evening. And put a smile on. Are you smiling?
Have a nice weekend.
Are you smiling?
Have a nice weekend, Mary.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
WABC.
I remember reading the eminent Hungarian psychiatrist Thomas Stas years ago when he said, and I'm specifically relating to the Bobby case, when he says that mental illness is no excuse for criminal activity and in a court of law.
Well, that has no bearing on the way the law is interpreted in the United States. None at all. So it doesn't make any difference what an alleged Hungarian psychiatrist had to say, even if he were the eminent Professor Goulash.
Okay.
You're making it up. Thank you.
No.
No? Okay, thank you. Barry.
Yes, Mr. Grant. I'm a homeless man, and I just want...
Really? How are you making this telephone call? From a tent?
I'm calling from my counselor's office.
From your counselor's office?
Yes.
He counsels you on how to live high off the hog homeless.
Well, I just think that we are entitled to if we want to wash your windshield, we've got a right to do that.
Yeah, I think you're putting me on, pal. This is a put-on.
It's not
You're
put
a
on.
fake, you're a phony, you're a fraud, you're a schmuck.
You're a squeak.
Get off my phone, you schmuck. Counselor's office from Poughkeepsie. The counselor's going to let him call a talk show. Who's kidding who? And from Tom's River, hello, Esther.
Hi, Bob. It's an honor to speak to you. My brother Joe.
That's the latest fad. The latest fad, ladies and gentlemen, is to say it's an honor to speak to you. That's the latest thing.
Well, it is.
I mean, you know, we had the thanks for taking my call crap. Now it's an honor to speak to you.
How about my brother?
I mean, here's a guy, he does a talk show. He's on 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. He invites people to call. People can call, and they say it's an honor to speak to you. What am I? Some great statesman? Some great personage?
How about my brother Joe loves you? That's true, too.
All right, what did you want to say, Esther?
Hello, Bob. No, Bob, I hate it when these invaders, these immigrants from Vietnam are coming into our country, my country, and they don't know how to speak the language. But, Bob, that body of yours speaks to me in every language.
Hey,
baby.
Bob, you Italians are going to die by the neo-Nazis.
What's all that noise on there? What is all that? It was, they're sick out there and getting sicker, folks. That's why this audience grows and grows, because we attract the sickies, and the sickies outnumber the 3 or 4 of you playing with reasonably close to a full deck. Nobody is playing with 52 cards. Nobody. I come the closest with 49. Okay.
The Islamics around here, and the Muslims, and the...
What are they doing in our country anyway?
I don't know, but it's horrendous. I think the world's coming to an end. I'm thinking about dabbling...
Wishful thinking.
I'm thinking about dabbling in the arts.
Yeah.
You think I should dabble in the arts?
Listen, you're a schmuck. Get off my phone. What a jerk. Let's try Steve checking in from Brooklyn. Hello.
Hi, Bob. How you doing? Oh, thank you for taking my call. You know, I'm a long-time listener and a first-time call, and, you know, it's a real honor to speak to you.
You're doing all the shtick, I know.
You remind me of my father. You know, you're a real voice in the wilderness, a breath of fresh air, because you tell it the way it is. Please, Bob, don't ever leave us. I really appreciate the education you've given us, you along with Rush Limbaugh. Hello, Bob. Are you with me? Bob, also, what do you think about that?
You're great, Steve. You've captured the essence of the quintessential caller. But did you say it was an honor to speak to me?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
It's maddening, isn't it, Steve?
Sick. And I listen all day in the truck. And I hear the same things over and over and over. When a person calls up, Richie tells them to get right to the point. Their minds are so unfocused.
You should see Richie. He looks like a homeless bum. He's got a scraggly beard. He's wearing a Charger cap.
At
least he doesn't have it on backwards.
Oh, that would be terrible. It looks like Chris Collinsworth anyway, that guy.
Hi, Bob.
Drop from the broad?
Yeah. I want to ask you a question, Bob.
Hey, drop.
Yeah, what,
Swallow
Bob?
some bread?
So I swallowed some razor blades, Bob. And, Bob, is it true the weather is as bad as you...
You know, I thought that was a cart. You know, I really thought they put something in the machine. I didn't know that was you live. It's a good thing, too. I probably would have hung up on you.
Listen, pal, I heard that snide remark about cross-country skiing. That snide, and you just cut your own throat.
That wouldn't be the first time. Nah, I cut my throat a few times and you put it back together. You're really a nice guy. What happened to you?
Jay, I grew up in the Middle West, and then I went to the West Coast because I couldn't stand the winters in the Middle West. This is the worst I have ever seen. The worst.
Yeah, it's relentless. You know, I walked in today because I was afraid to get stuck in the subway, and the tableau here was like the tundra. Even in Manhattan, where you think it wouldn't mount up that much, but you must really be under an avalanche.
If there is a hell, it's not going to be fires of damnation. It's going to be cold and snow and freezing. It's going to be what we have today, what we've had yesterday, what we will have tomorrow, the day after, and the day after that, and the day after that.
See, I don't care. My taxes are going in the wrong directions from these bleeding heart liberals. Bob, I'm tired of picking up the slack for all the deadbeat welfare sponges. Whatever happened to you, put something in the pot, you get something out. I'm tired, Bob. What do you think about this, Bob?
I think it's terrible. Thank you. I think the guy was going to come up with a zinger any second. What do you think about it, Bob? What do you think about it, Bob? He's a fake, phony fraud, a put-up call. You tell by the cadence of his dumb voice.
People complain how they discriminated against when they are the ones who benefited from discrimination and from racism.
Well, what white guys? You mean guys living now? You're crazy. Guys living now? My foot. Light, oh, no, I'm tired of you, Light, you fake, phony fraud. Joey.
Say that your washing machine wasn't working.
Yeah, the person who sold me their place really took me to the cleaners. Boy, everything broke down right after I moved in.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm a student.
Any, and if so, who are they? American, Jewish, or Israeli groups? That's really what I'd like to know. I'm in the business.
What business?
I'm basically in marketing. I do media buying.
So what does that got to do with anything?
Well, I'm saying Hollywood is basically run by the Jewish, is heavily
You're
influenced
pumpering
by
all
Jewish.
over the joint. You must feel uncomfortable. What is your real message?
My message is this, is that I feel uncomfortable about hearing about the Holocaust constantly.
Holocaust?
When the Russians have lost 40 million under Stalin, when the Armenians have lost 20 million, and everything I watch on TV and everything I read in the paper is influenced
I love
by
the
one
Armenians,
group of
but
people,
thank God
whether
they
be...
didn't. Hey, jerk! Thank God they didn't lose 20 million. They didn't even have 20 million Armenians to begin with. They lost 1,250,000 in 1915, you schmuck. Get off my phone. Another guy just come out and say, hey, I don't like Jews, instead of pumpering all over the joint. Another guy just come out and say, I think Farrakhan is right, instead of pumpering all over himself, falling all over himself. I think I hate that more than his anti-Semitism. Can you believe Diamond's not coming in just because he moved, and he moved in the same building? You know,
I didn't know we was allowed to say that.
I'm allowed to say any damn thing I want.
Oh, yeah, you're Bob Grant.
Yeah, you're allowed to say that.
He worships you. You can do anything.
Hey, I love the guy, but gee, I couldn't believe it. He should have gone through what I went through. I really moved,
Oh, please, if he moves the way you moved, he'd have to take 2 months off.
Yeah. But
Jay's very delicate. He has a delicate constitution.
He's incredibly talented and has a great mind, but he suffers the tortures of the damned because of his emotions.
And I know there's a commercial.
$6 billion worth of commercial airliners to contracts to Boeing and McDonnell Douglas.
Yeah.
A real shot in the arm to the economy.
I understand that.
Okay, I'll tell you again,
Can I ask
nothing.
another question?
Huh?
Can I ask you a question? Usually when somebody does...
Why do you have to say, can I ask you a question?
Well, because I didn't want
you don't need permission, just ask the question.
Well, usually when someone does business with the Arabs, they have to sign like a loyalty oath that they're not going to do business.
Disloyalty to who? This is the United States of America.
With Israel.
Yeah. Look, you don't like the answer. The answer is...
No, I like the answer. You're correct.
Okay, well then... Well, are you trying to make a point here, Arlette?
The point is I just hope that it's not trouble for the Israelis.
The point is you're just an anti-Semite.
No, I'm not an anti-Semite.
Yeah, you certainly are.
I'm a Sephardic Jew, and I'm not no anti-Semite. I have family living in Israel.
A Sephardic Jew, what does that give you a license? It gives you a license to be a schmuck?
What?
Where'd you get the name Arlette anyway, Arlette?
My mother. Ask Henry Spallone about me. I'm not an anti-Semite.
Blah, blah, blah. You sound like an idiot.
Well, I'm no idiot. I'm not an anti-Semite.
Okay, if you say you're not an idiot, then you're not an idiot. All right.
I'm no idiot. Give Henry. He knows me.
Henry who?
Spallone, ex-mayor of Yonkers.
Really?
Yes, I lived in the Amalgamated, and I still do, and he was chief of security here.
Well, don't get mad about it. You're chief of security. Don't get mad about it.
You know, I'm a good acquaintance of his.
You're a good
acquaintance. I can't say I'm a friend of his because friends mean other things.
Okay.
So I'll say acquaintance.
All right. Okay,
I'm not an idiot. I'm not a dope.
You're just strange.
Years ago, I asked...
Hey, you're strange. You're strange.
About American travelers being bothered by the terrorists, and I said to you it was because of Israel.
You're strange.
That the Americans have a lot of trouble because we supported Israel. And I said that
you're
years ago.
You're a strange
So
boy.
If I'm an anti-Semite, then I wouldn't even bother saying that.
Okay. All right, Arlette. All right. Okay.
So you heard about me years ago.
Arlette, you know what I want to do? I want to say thank you for the call. All's well that ends well. Call again.
Say hello to Henry for me, please. Thank you.
I don't see Henry Spallone. Mayor of Yonkers, former mayor of Yonkers. Say hello to him. What, am I going to see him? I didn't know. Is he going to be at the affair? I don't know. What affair? Said they plan to charge people seeking political asylum a $130 fee and to delay issuing work permits for 150 days to try to deter new applicants and cut the backlog of asylum claims. And now that is a step in the right direction. It's just a step. But lo and behold, the politically correct, bleeding heart, left-wing scum that underpin this administration got to work, and immediately there was a correction issued. And that correction was enunciated by Super Dyke, 8 miles of bad road, prune-faced, douchebag-face Janet Reno.
We will provide for an appropriate waiver for anybody who cannot afford the $130.
I can't stand her. I cannot stand her. Take a look at that insipid face. Yeah.
The particular edition is February and March. There's an article in there wherein Hillary Rodham Clinton is being interviewed. Without reading anything, one of the things she cites, and it's certainly an error, but notwithstanding that, she cites that doctors are paid additional income for having referred patients for certain tests. Now, you and I both know
that's against the law. That is a no-no. If they are being paid, I'm not saying that they're all goody two-shoes, but what?
No. In the real world, this is certainly, it might be happening. We don't disagree there. But she's citing this as a routine course of action.
Mm-hmm. What do you want me to say?
Well, I just want to enlighten you as to what the wilted blossom from Washington, how she's misleading the elderly folk.
Thank you for the call.
I live in a community, and I dare say the vast majority that read this thing believe it.
Thank you for the call, Frank. I don't want to keep Frank on the line too much because he might expire when you're shouting the way he is. It taxes the entire cardiovascular system. Paul.
At least one noted civil rights leader says, give Tanya a chance. Here's what the Reverend Jesse Jackson told the National Press Club in Washington.
How many people who rush into righteous judgment have experienced a mother who was married 6 times, lived in a trailer camp, called trailer camp trash, called white nigger, ballot child, ballot wife.
But whether it was a Lyndon Johnson whom I couldn't stand, or a Jimmy Carter who I couldn't take seriously, or Bill Clinton, whom I totally despise, nevertheless, I would have to say, if Bill Clinton shows up somewhere to make a speech, he has a perfect right to do that, because whether I like it or not, he is the President of the United States, and he has a right to make a speech. Now, he showed up in Edison, New Jersey yesterday to try to brainwash the gavones into accepting his health care socialist package. That's all right. He has a right to do that. But why did he have to bring that broad with him, that sanctimonious, supercilious, imperious bitch, who happens to be his wife? I mean, who, I want to know who elected her. And if you watch the proceedings, he gets up, he talks, and then she gets up to put her official stamp of approval on it. I'm offended by that. But as usual, I'm a majority of one. I don't hear anybody else saying a word about it. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe there are a lot of people who have complained about it, but I just cannot abide this duality here. It's like, I don't know if you're conversant enough with history to remember that reigning monarchs William and Mary of England in the 18th century, William and Mary, royalty. Why don't they introduce themselves as the king and queen? Why don't they introduce themselves as at least the duke and duchess or something like that? Anyway.
Yes, Bob. You remember me, but I want to ask you something on the lighter side.
What do you mean I remember you? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I've spoken to you before. I'm sorry. I thought you would recognize the voice.
Why should I recognize the voice?
Well, you got a good pretty memory for recognizing voices.
Well, there are a lot of gavones that sound like you. You're your run-of-the-mill gavone voice.
You're right. When you're right, you're right. Well, I
take it back. You're not a gavone. You know why I know you're not?
Why?
Because if you are a gavone, you would have been offended. But because you're not a gavone, you weren't offended.
Well, you know, President acts. Do you remember any president going around from town to town doing that?
Well, I'm so... I find this president so repulsive on a personal level, on a political level, on an aesthetic level. I find him so repulsive. Right. I can't even watch him.
Yep.
When he comes on, the clicker is going like crazy. I keep switching, trying to get away from him, but a lot of times the news will duplicate.
Yeah.
And you go various channels. And now where I live, I have to get the dumb Philadelphia stations, and 3 and 4 duplicate, 6 and 7 duplicate, 2 and 10 duplicate. How dumb. That's because Monmouth Cablevision is a cheap, crummy outfit. And by the way, I'd like to, Stuart and Jack, when I find out who's been using my phone, I'm not going to ask you for the money. I just want you to know that I'm wise to you guys. Boy, oh boy, these guys. January 14th, I had some guys working on the place. I didn't move into the 15th. They found out the phone was activated, and they went wild. Mm. Alex, you're on WABC.
Yeah, hi, Bob. I'd like to talk about immigration.
Yes?
And this doesn't concern all immigrants, because this country was found on immigrants coming from this country, like my grandfather who came from Italy, and he worked his tail off. And I don't mind immigrants coming, but I can't stand the fact when people come today, it's gimme, 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 gimme. Hey, you got to give in to make this country great. You know, what made this country great is people working their tails off, like my father and you, and bringing something for their families, coming here. The only thing this country
owes... What do you mean, me? I never worked my tail off.
Well, your father or your grandfather.
My grandfather
did, right?
and my father, yes, they did.
Right.
But I see, I'm a Native American. I was born here.
Like me. But what your father gave you is, Bob, you got to work hard. You got to make things happen yourself.
But I didn't want to work hard. That's why I got into radio. Thank you, Alex. Cavonia, here I come, right back where that vintage Cavo.
Good evening, Bob. I just wanted to ask you, did you happen to take a good look at that picture of Lani Guinier on the cover of New York Times Magazine?
Sickening.
Unbelievable.
It really tells what she is.
I mean, the profile. I mean, there's beautiful black, beautiful white Jews, but this mutt got the worst of like both of them.
No, I thought. You know what I thought? I thought it was a condor. A condor that had a menstrual period or something. You know?
Could you imagine her standing down there in the middle, like with the super dyke to her right and Clinton to her left? One word, Bob. Embarrassing. Welcome back. Keep it up. Rock steady. Love you.
Thank you.
People over here in the United States for the gay.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about Super Dyke who wants the HIV-positive people to come in and participate in the so-called gay games, sweets.
What is that?
Don't get too close to me and back of me there. Whoa. They're sickening, these people.
The other thing, what did she do in Waco? She couldn't even get a conviction.
Well,
beautiful record.
No, really, it's a travesty. This whole administration is a ludicrous, I would say joke, except a joke is something that is funny, and this is not funny. But perhaps the most outrageous appointment that Slick Willie has made is appointing this 8 miles of bad road to this job.
She didn't do too good in Florida, too. You talk to the people in Florida, most of her major cases got away scot-free.
Appreciate the call. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Anytime I look at Janet Reno, take a good look at her. It looks as though she's smelling something bad. As though she's smelling something bad, you know? Maybe it's herself. Well, that's a good question as far as how much is justified. But when you talk about a $4.5 billion welfare tab, which, of course, most of it is in Essex County, Camden County, Hudson County, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not knocking them with mothers, Bob, but do we have to subsidize them, Bob? You know, in Chicago, 19 people lived in this apartment getting $4,400 a month. Kids were eating dog shit.
I cannot believe that he said that. Did we catch it? We did. I don't know. Well, we caught it the second time when I asked, what did you say? Oh, we got it the first time, but we got it both times. Didn't we? Shame on Nick. Shame on him. Shine Yitz on WABC. Hello.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
What's on your mind, Jeff?
Well, Bob, I hope you're not angry from the last call.
What's on your mind, Jeff?
Okay, I'd like to, if I may...
How are you? What's the matter with you people?
Okay.
How are you?
Just bear with me.
I gave my home phone number with chat. Meyer. You know, I tell you something. I'm very suspicious of this guy, Jeff, because, let me tell you, if you know anything about Israel, Israeli history, modern Israeli history, the name was Golda Meir, not Golda Meir. And that may seem like a small thing. But when a guy purports that, I was there when Sadat came in, and, yeah, I was there. I mean, he tries to make it sound like he's such a macher. He was walking along with Golda Meir, and Sadat said, oh, I see you have Jeffrey, who was going to call the Bob Grant show. Where's Barbara?
Right. Now, do you basically support the rights set forth in the 14th Amendment?
What game are we playing here, Miles?
Well,
are you practicing for your bar exam? Do you want to be a prosecuting attorney somewhere?
No, I just want to set a form.
I don't like this type of procedure.
All right, well,
I don't like setups.
I'll change it around. All right, before
why don't you just come to the point? You obviously have a point in mind.
Well, I was going to try to do it that way, but it's your format, so we'll...
No. Don't be devious. Just be direct.
All right. Before you had a caller that was called up about the gay Olympics, and you expressed your viewpoint. Okay. Now...
This guy loves to say okay.
Yeah, well... So, what I'm trying to get across is...
Yeah, what are you trying to get
Do you believe that gays choose their sexual orientation, like they actually sit down?
No, I think they're just depraved naturally. I think it's a perversion. They're perverts, and not by choice, but they are driven to that.
Well, all right, but you say that they don't really consciously sit down and make a choice.
No, they don't sit down and say, "Oh, I'll take vanilla." No.
Yeah. So as such, in our society, they should be what? Put aside? What should their rights be?
Their rights should be the same as yours or mine.
Oh, well, because other.
But the gay games, that's absurd, I think.
Well, you have the.
Are you gay?
You have the special.
Are you a homosexual? Are you a homosexual?
No, I'm not. You have the Special Olympics.
Just training for it, huh?
No.
You think that
would be fine.
you're getting on my nerves. You're getting on my nerves. You're getting on my nerves. I can't handle it. Can't handle it. Can't handle it. The program this morning that you saw yesterday.
Yes.
And Phil Donahue, I tell you, he's just a scumbag. Sorry up front. I used the word, but I can't think of anything else to call Phil Donahue. Yes.
I couldn't believe his attitude. I couldn't believe his the way he attacked Al D'Amato, and how he wouldn't allow him to even say what was on his mind. He never answered his question whether they would be out to get Bush if this was President Bush with the same circumstances. Also, I'd like to say that I'm a proud immigrant who is going to be a citizen shortly.
Where are you from?
I have immigrated to the United States from Iran.
From Iran?
Iran.
She told Slick Willie, "You owe me, you philandering skunk. You owe me. I saved your ass when Jennifer Flowers blew the whistle on you. Had I not gone on 60 Minutes, looked at you lovingly, pretended that I admired you so much, put my arm around you and defended you, you would not have beaten Paul Tsongas at the Democrat primary. You would not have even beaten Bob Kerrey at the Democrat primary." And the people, are their memories so short they forget that? Doggone it. So she said, "You owe me." And indeed, she's got him by the proverbial couillons.
Right.
Okay, thank you. By the way, while I'm at it, don't ever buy Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Don't buy it. These guys are more interested in their left-wing social agenda than they are in selling ice cream. They just taped a commercial, a television commercial, and get a load of the lineup. As my late grandfather would have said, "Que bella robe." Listen to this. Carlos Santana, Buffy St. Marie, Bobby Seale, Daniel Berrigan, Dolores Huerta, Pete Seeger, the bottom of the barrel. Pete Seeger, who spent his whole life appearing for causes that either had a bunch of communists, were communist-dominated, left-wing causes, every single one, far, far left-wing causes. Michelle Schacht and Spike Lee. They all appear in a Ben & Jerry commercial. Now, I don't care how much you love ice cream. You can do very well without Ben & Jerry's. There's a lot of fine ice creams out there. But these two guys, Ben & Jerry, they seem more interested in their left-wing social agenda, in their left-wing agenda, than they do selling ice cream. But we can live without it. We can live without Ben & Jerry's. We'll just...
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I totally respect you. I just wanted to say that right up from the bat. And I love listening to your show. And I just had one little bone to pick about Pete Seeger. Pete Seeger, I just want to say he's a really decent man.
He's not a decent man. He's a guy that has never appeared in a pro-America rally in his life. Every time he ever picked up the guitar, every time he ever went anywhere, it was with some big, way out left-wing cause. Don't tell me he's a decent man.
Well, at least one of his things, at least, you got to give him a couple credits where he's trying to clean up the environment.
Clean up the environment. He had to clean. First of all, he had to clean himself up, shave that stupid beard off his dumb face.
No, I'm not totally trying to protect him, but
all right, thank you for the call. Thank you.
All right.
I have to laugh. These guys call to kiss my tush for 30 seconds. I know what they're leading up. First of all, I want to tell you I respect you, but I have a bone to pick with you. Corny. Come on, Eddie.
No stature.
What conservatives came to his...
we were talking about Admiral Crowe.
Admiral Crowe. First of all, it's Admiral Crowe. He's no conservative. Right. Admiral Crowe never was a conservative. Is not a conservative now. So don't say he was a conservative. He wasn't.
Well, your caller did say that where are these guys coming from, such as Barry Goldwater, the poor guy you gave him Alzheimer's disease. But let's forget that for a minute. If Herbert Hoover came back, you'd probably say, and defended Clinton, you'd say the same thing.
Well, first of all, yeah. That's all hypothetical. In other words, it's all hypothetical. You're getting on my nerves. You're a skunk. Get off my phone.
You know you're a phony yourself. You know that?
Really? Well, why do you bother listening to a phony? I wouldn't listen to a phony. If I thought some guy were a phony, I would listen to him. Are you there? No, he's not there anymore. Okay. Rebecca, what's on your mind, Rebecca?
Yes, the president said that he never met anyone more ethical than Hillary. I think that's the problem.
Well, you see, he knows himself, and he knows that she's more ethical than he is, which isn't saying much.
Well, there are so many complex issues here. There's so many allegations and questions of ethics, such as the diversion, how do you like that word, of funds from the Small Business Administration, which was supposed to go to the small businesses of Arkansas and allegedly ended up in McDougal. I'd like to find out more about that.
Yes. From Belleville, New Jersey. I would like to make two comments. If Islamic law were imposed in Washington and directed to the members of Congress and Senate as proposed, if you steal, your hand would be cut off. If you lie, your tongue would be cut out. Based on these premises, and judging from the actions of our congressmen and senators, 50% would be missing hands, and 49% would have their tongues cut off. My second comment is a notice by the Postal Department to all stamp collectors. In 1996, the face that will adorn the 32-cent stamp will be none other than Representative Dan Rostenkowski. And the caption under his name will be Polski Złodziej, Polish crook. Thank you, Bob.
WABC, I'm seriously thinking of getting out of here, really. It's, you know what I'm trying to figure out? I'm trying to figure out how I could sit here and conduct the show and continue getting paid and not have to listen to the show. That's what I'm trying to figure out, how I could do the program without actually listening to it. Now, if I can figure that out, I'll stay here forever. In the meantime, let's all listen to this.
We have Mike Tyson, who was convicted of raping a woman, and he got 6 to 12 years in jail. Now, you're constantly referring to the fact that blacks, because of their skin color, get a better deal. But
except for Mike Tyson. Listen, pal, don't give me any jive. Look, don't give me any jive. I've been in Tyson's corner from day one. I think he got a bum rap. So don't waste your breath on that, you schmuck. Because when you were offered 7, you had to put a little trick in there with the silver dollars.
No, give me 7,000 silver dollars. I'll sell it to you now.
Silver dollars.
Shall I call up?
I don't have silver dollars.
You can buy them on the market for $15 each.
I'll tell you what, you buy the silver dollars.
And I can sell them.
I got a great idea. You buy the silver dollars, give me the silver dollars, and then I'll give you the silver dollars. And
I'll be so goddamn smart.
Why'd you get nasty with me? Brad? He got nasty. He got nasty. He got nasty. Guy's probably 3/4 in a bag. I think he is, really. Probably Ripple. Do they still make Ripple? Sounds like the type of guy that was drinking Ripple all day. You can practically see his red nose over the telephone. Did you notice that?
Vote for him for a reason. You know, we get the government.
You're stupid. You're really stupid. They had to change the law. This is about the only state in the union that allows that. It's stupid.
It's the same thing as the term limitations, and I know.
Oh, get off the phone, you jerk. Compared with term limitations, how stupid. How stupid.